Hey TikTok, great news. Apparently in Ontario, you no longer have to pay your rent. So if you are a tenant in Ontario, congratulations, you no longer have to pay your rent as per the Landlord Tenant Board of Ontario. And do you know how I know this? I'll tell you how I know this. I have a tenant who didn't pay their rent. I went to the Landlord Tenant Board and they haven't made a decision yet. So let me give you some context. In July, these people have been there for 4 years, since January 2021. Okay, so 3.5 years. In July, they didn't pay July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. It took me 7 to 8 months to get myself a court date. And when I got the court date, which was in February, the tenants did show up, did agree that they have not paid rent, agreed that they knew what the rent was, didn't pay it, and they agreed they are 8 months behind in their rent. And that was February. And they said in 2 days we'll have a decision. That was in February. Still no decision. Landlord Tenant Board just hasn't gotten around to it yet. So no order, no making them pay, nada. We had another court date because I was knocking down the property when I bought it 3.5 years ago. I bought it to knock it down and build new houses. These people were staying just temporarily until they decided never to leave. So I've had to prove that I bought the property to knock it down, all these documents that I'm severing the land and all my plans and all my permits. And so I had to prove that I was doing that, and we had another court date so I could prove that. Then they counterclaimed saying I didn't do it properly. And so that cost me more money. Anyways, we had that hearing, and that hearing was done, and they just withdrew it. The tenants just withdrew it. So it cost me money, but they just withdrew it because I had all the proof and they didn't have it. So that cost me money, and the tenant just withdrew it. I just had another case, another hearing this morning, where the tenants claimed that they didn't know what the rent was, and that's why they weren't paying it. They didn't know what it was. And so I showed up to court, paid the money, summons fees, lawyers' fees, and the tenants didn't show up and just withdrew their claim because they didn't really have one. It just wastes everybody's time and money. And so when we asked the Landlord Tenant Board for my money back because of all the time wasted and costs incurred, they just said, well, it's the cost of doing business. So it's 3 or 4 court dates we've already had where it's cost me money, and 3 of them they haven't shown up, just cause. Now, in February, they actually, because they withdrew their claim, they actually did leave at the end of February. And now they're still having counterclaims against me months later and still no money. Nothing. Landlord Tenant Board doesn't do anything. It's called the Landlord Tenant Board for both of us. But in Ontario, it's really just the Tenant Board. Now, there are really shitty landlords in Ontario. I will give you that. And they need to be dealt with. I completely agree with you. But to have proof, to have hundreds of pages of disclosure, and the tenants have 0. So all of the proof and all of the counterclaims I am debunking that I did nothing wrong. I still have to pay costs. I still have to go through the rigmarole. I've had $10,000 in legal fees in this year. I've had $20,000 in lost rent and utilities I'm still paying. Landlord Tenant Board says, not my problem. So congratulations, tenants in Ontario. You do not have to pay your rent. And if you don't want to pay rent for a year, just do what these people do. Just ask for court dates and then never show up. It's simple. Congratulations, Landlord Tenant Board, you are broken. And unfortunately, it is an absolute joke that some landlords are losing their houses, personal houses, because they're not allowed to sell the rental property that the person's not paying for a year. So congratulations, in Ontario, you get to have free rent.